Hey guys, Jeff here. Today we're talking about managing your sound. So if you're doing a renovation, you've got an incredible opportunity to manage the sound transfer from one space to the next. So in this video, we're gonna tackle how to manage the sound coming through the floor, specifically managing the impact noise of people walking or using shoes or the dogs running around. We're also gonna cover how to manage the sound transfer from a common area into a bedroom. Everybody wants an office space for a private bedroom nowadays. So if you're doing renovations, this information will be key. Remember, it's not always soundproofing, but there are different levels of sound management. We're going to deal with the first one, which is just managing the room, and the second one is managing privacy. In another video soon, we're going to do in the theater room, we're going to show you how to literally soundproof the room. Cheers. All right, now for doing this, we're going to use fiberglass pink. Next gen. I know there's a lot of people out there, oh, you should be using Roxol or mineral wool. And I'm like, yeah, there's lots of people out there that have been paid a lot of money to have that opinion. But here on this channel, I give you my honest opinion. At the end of the day, the difference in sound transmission when you're using this kind of insulation or the mineral wool is almost identical. It's not worth the investment, especially when you're just managing sound. So in this ceiling, we're just managing it, and pink insulation installs a lot faster than the rock does. So that's what I'm gonna use. Even though it's next gen, still recommend get something to cover you up. I'm gonna be putting in about 400 or 500 bats in this basement today. We're going to throw it all on time lapse, and then we'll talk a little bit about the benefit on how the soundproofing actually works. And we'll show you how to go from just managing a little bit of impact noise to actually creating a sound barrier between the bedroom and the hallway. And then I'll start underneath the ducting here, extend it out both sides. As you can see, when I'm insulating, I'm not trying to fill the entire cavity with material because we're not going for that dramatic of an effect. We're just trying to reduce noise impact. So one layer of insulation is enough. Yes, you can always say there'll be people that want to go 2 layers. Oh, we'll stuff it full. I don't care if I can get 3, I'll go 3. Listen, it's your budget. You do what you want. But on this project, we're just trying to be reasonable and practical. And when we get to the ducting, sometimes the ducts are low in the cavity and sometimes they're high. So I'll go above and beneath. And if I have an opportunity with the ducts when they're really low, I'm going to feed insulation in there. I'll peel the bat apart and get like an R10, and I'll install that when I'm doing the strapping. And that video is coming in the next part of the series. When it comes to your plumbing, again, same with the ducting. We want to try to get the insulation on the interior of the room for the plumbing as well. We don't want to have people flushing a toilet and having that sound of the water rushing above your head while you're sitting there trying to enjoy a conversation. Because we're just getting mass in the ceiling, this is not about perfection, it's about getting the mass in the ceiling. Now I'm intentionally trying to leave a little room above the joist because I know over time that bat is all going to fall down, but I have an electrician who's going to come in and run pot lights after the fact. So he's going to need that little extra space to go feed that wire across the ceiling. So that's why I'm trying to leave it a little bit higher. And you can see some of those air gaps, and I understand, but again, this is not about perfection. It's about putting mass in the ceiling to eat as much sound as possible, and that is all we're going to take care of here. All right, so I'm just going to take a quick break. Remember, when you're working on a ladder near a ceiling, you are creating a thermal barrier as well, and so you get the effect of it, right? It's hot. I'm going to just come back after I grab a quick lunch, and I'm going to insulate this wall and soundproof it so that you get the transfer. Sound management, number one, is you want to manage sound passing from floor to floor. We can do that here just by insulating it and putting a finished ceiling on. Number two is how to create more privacy. So someone can be doing something in one room making noise, and someone can be over here doing something making noise, and it doesn't affect each other. That is the next level of sound management. We're going to call that the beginning of soundproofing technology. And of course, the third level is to really soundproof something. That's going to be in the theater video. Now we're going to come over to the wall, and we're going to up the game because now we're not just doing a little bit of sound mitigation. We're trying to have a little bit more control over the atmosphere. So here we're going to be a lot more particular about how we're installing our insulation and a lot more particular about how we're going to finish off our sauna pan board. Very important to note when you're building your own walls, when you're considering using insulation, whether it's for thermal or for sound control, remember the insulation bats come pre-cut to be exactly snug when you build 16-inch on center studs. When we're installing the bat, basically they come in 4-foot sections. We're down in the south, they come in an 8-foot roll, and so you have the same effect. From the bottom to the top plate, in this house particular, is 8 feet to the underside of the steel, so this works really well. When I come across electrical wires, what we're doing is we're just cutting the shape of that wire run on the back side of the insulation, and then eating it like a Pac-Man. All right, and then you just eat it and roll it back up into the bat. And you can do that as many times as necessary to achieve the desired result. When it comes down to the plugs, because I'm using an R20 and we are trying to create as much mass as possible, I'm cutting away the shape of the plug from the back side of the insulation to allow room for it to be installed and still have insulation wrapping in behind. You'll note that when we go do the theater room, we take the next step going above and beyond that, and we use putty pads. But in this application, this is plenty strong enough. Now, you'll notice one spot here, the electrician didn't get the wire run. That's fine. He's coming back in a couple of days he's got 3 little touch-ups. We're going to leave the insulation out of that panel and not close the backside until it has a chance to be finished and inspected. Once we get the insulation now we're time for the Soundproof panel. That panel is 3/4 inch thick, and we're installing with a 1 5/8 drywall screw. You can get drywall screws up to 3.5 inches. Not at the regular building store, but if you go to the specialty supply stores, they have the drywall screw in increments of 1/2 inch and 1/4 and 3/8. Remember, your screw shouldn't be any longer than 1 inch of actual screw inside the stud itself. That way you're going to protect all the wires running through there from being accidentally pierced. Soundproof does not need to be installed with 100 screws. You can just pin the corners, mark your studs, and then you can chalk line later, okay, from the top to bottom so you know where your drywall screws go on. That's going to be the system here. Just pin it, and then when the drywall goes on, you're going to use 5 screws for every 4-foot length, and that'll solve all your problems. And again, this is a very quick installation that gives you incredible sound control. And don't forget, Soundproof eats sound. It is the best solution on the market I've found to date. Well, there we go. That's enough for the physical demonstration. Let's talk about the system and issues you're going to have to deal with as a result. One, this is a exterior mass panel, which is really what it is, okay? I'm going to encourage all of our viewers in the United States, reach out to the Home Depot, your Lowe's, your Menards, your Ace Hardwares, and say, hey, when are you guys going to start carrying this product? It comes from Canada. There's nothing about this product that keeps it from coming across the border. It's available in very limited locations in the States right now. This is a lot easier to work with than mass vinyl, all right? It's a one-man operation. If you remember, I did the mass vinyl in my farm. My son and I just died installing that stuff. So profile details. This is the electrical box. It's installed at regular depth. It's designed to be flush with the finished drywall. This panel is thicker than regular drywall. So take a look here, 3/4, okay? That means we're gonna have a 3/4 of an inch thicker wall. And because I'm soundproof, I'm gonna add 5/8 drywall detail to this. Once we get everything finished with the drywall, we'll come back. There's what is called a box extender. It's like just a square that screws into the existing. It has new location holes to receive the next receptacle, and that's fine. At that point, we'll take out spray foam and we'll inject all the way around to make sure we have a perfect air seal as well. Now, and on the door, of course, means we're not going to have a traditional door jamb. We could have just gone with a 2x4 door jamb, hinges on the inside, door swings open, everything's fine. Whenever you're adding a product like this, you want to install the panel not on the hinge side. Okay, remember, you want to leave your hinges available to be screwed into the wood. It's nice to have that option, right? You don't want your hinges floating out there on the jamb only. So we're going to cut this all back to fit the size of the hole. I'm going to be ordering a jamb for this that's made for a 2x6 wall instead, and then I'll run that through my table saw and cut it down to the right thickness from the front. That'll give us the finish we need. Yes, it's a couple extra details, but making sure that a room is really isolated from everything outside the room can be a massive benefit, whether it's a nursery or an office or just giving your kids some privacy so they can grow up online. It's a great idea. Now, that's it. We'll finish off the rest of this. So here's the thing. When you're doing sound management, you've got to manage not just transmission, you got to manage the sound of rushing water. This is a 3-inch ABS pipe, which is a drain for toilets and tubs and showers, laundry machines. And if you're sitting down here in a finished room and you haven't insulated this pipe, you're not going to have sound protection and you're going to hear the running water. While you're strapping your ceiling, which you always do, we have a video on that. You can go check it out. I'll put the link in the video description. You want to realize that insulation works very effectively for thermal when it's expanded because it's trapping air pockets. And when you compress it, you lose R value. But we're doing sound transmission and we're looking for mass. And when you compress this, it has the same effect as when it's expanded. So it's okay, put in your strap and then you can feed this in. There wasn't enough space previously to make this stay up here, right? Like I can't put that bat in and expect it to be there overnight. In a lot of cases, when you're really close, you got to force this in. All right, there we go. That is mass, and that will stop the sound from transmitting, and that makes your room habitable. Remember, vertical or horizontal, it's the same issue. When your walls are open, take the opportunity to make it as perfect as you can. You can never go backwards in time and do it easy. If you're sitting there in your living room and you hear the toilet flush, you'll know your house was built by somebody who's doing minimum code and didn't really care about the end result. Next video in this series, we're going to talk about my strapping system, why I love it, how to install it, and all of the solutions that brings to the job site when you're finishing a basement. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.